Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a book review on this amazing book that really did push me into my healing journey. This book is where it all started for me because I was once in a situation where I felt like I was just confused. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why it wasn't working. And this book really helped me answer some tough questions and to really just make some things clear to me that I just was not seeing. The name of the book is called Is It Me by Natalie Hoffman, and the subtitle is Making Sense of Your Confusing Marriage. It's a Christian woman's guide to hidden emotional and spiritual abuse. This book is absolutely amazing, and like I said, this was the beginning of my healing journey. Once I picked this book up, everything shifted for me, and I found out about Natalie Hoffman and her community that she's built called Flying Free. And it's basically a community of women who have all experienced emotional, spiritual, financial, even some physical and DV abuse. And it was really a blessing to me. So, y'all know how God works. I used to have a podcast myself, and it was a faith based podcast. And one day I was making a podcast episode and I uploaded it. And sometimes it shows you podcasts that are similar to yours. And I found the Flying Free podcast by Natalie Hoffman. And I was like, okay, let me check this out. So then I started to read what the channel was about. And I was like, wait a minute. This is exactly what I've been looking for, like community that understands what I've been dealing with. So as I started to listen to her podcast, she started to talk more about her book, Is It Me? And I was just floored that I wasn't the only person dealing with what I was dealing with. I was like, oh, it's a whole community of women who have also been confused and didn't know what to do or what was going on and trying to figure out, wait, is it me? Am I the problem? So this book really changed the game for me. The Flying Free community really changed the game for me. This is not a paid promotion, a partnership, or any of that. This is strictly me just wanting to share this amazing resource with other women who may need this type of guidance or this type of community. With the companion workbook that comes with the book, it asks you some really tough questions to get down to the nitty gritty of the situation. It helps you not only see where you may be a victim, but also where you played a part in the dynamic of the relationship that you're currently in. It also asks you questions about what would your life look like moving forward without this person? How do you see family and friends now that you've experienced this relationship? The companion workbook can also be done in a group setting. So if you have a group of women who are all experiencing similar situations, you guys can come together and read this book as a group and also do the companion workbook together as a group. And that would be so powerful. If you know other women who are dealing with the same thing, it could really be life changing. And I think it could be something so beautiful. Unfortunately, when I was doing it, I didn't have a community of women and going through the process with me. But I joined the Flying Free community, which is a online community where women can go in and vent to each other, ask for advice. The website, the community group has so many different resources on how to deal with finances before and after separation or divorce, how to go, manage therapy, how to handle situations with your kids. What do we do now? It's just an amazing resource. So the Flying Free community, Natalie Hoffman, Is It Me? Making Sense of My Confusing Marriage. All of these are fantastic resources. She has also written a book since this one called Scary Little Gods. And I haven't read that book yet, but I'm sure it's amazing as well. I love Natalie. Shout out to you, world. But if you are looking for a resource to help you make sense of your situation, this book is an amazing resource. One of the overarching ideas of the book is that confusion is a red flag. You should not be confused about the relationship that you are in. Healthy relationships have challenges, but no relationship should be chronically confusing. You shouldn't always be wondering what's going on, or you shouldn't always be in a state of wait, what just happened? If you're in a relationship where someone's actions and their words never match, that's an indicator that something is going wrong. They say they love you, but they show up in an abusive way, controlling way. A lot of women normalize confusion because confusion doesn't sound like abuse because it doesn't leave bruises. A lot of women stay in situations where they're making excuses for the confusion and they're brushing over it or finding reasons why. Well, maybe he's just stressed out at work. Well, maybe it's just, and instead of just looking at it for what it is, it's emotional abuse. It doesn't leave scars physically, but it does leave scars mentally and emotionally. It does just as much damage. There have been so many studies shown that how emotional stress, emotional strain, and abuse can affect your body physically over time. Just like if someone hit you over the head with a brick, you can have brain damage due to emotional abuse over time. Stress can kill you. And if you're in a confusing relationship where you can't make sense of it and you're always walking on eggshells, that's going to affect your physical health. Another topic that this book hit on was gaslighting. How gaslighting can make you question yourself and your own memory. How you can experience a situation, but once you bring it to the person that you're in relationship with, if they're an unhealthy partner, if this is an emotionally abusive relationship, they will make you question what you even experienced. And for someone who's never experienced gaslighting, I know how that can sound crazy. But believe me when I say it's true. You can experience a thing and the person will have you second guessing everything that just happened. So you'll start to do things like record situations, or you'll start to do things like when you experience something, you immediately go journal because you don't want to forget, or you don't want to be gaslit out of your reality. It's like, no, this just happened. Let me write this down. Let me make a note in my phone. Let me record this conversation because every time I talk to him about something, I'm confused. That is a sign that this is not a safe relationship. If you feel the need to record and take notes and screenshot and keep up with screenshots, if you got to watch the cameras, something is wrong. Healthy relationships should not leave you feeling confused, should not leave you feeling like your reality is some alternate reality. This book really made me realize that abuse doesn't always hit. Abuse doesn't even always yell. Sometimes abuse is quiet. Sometimes it's silent treatment. Sometimes it's not talking to you or withdrawing love and affection as punishment. Sometimes abuse is not the typical thing you see in movies or on DV commercials. Sometimes abuse is neglect. Sometimes it's abandonment. All abuse does not look the same, but it doesn't mean it's not abuse at the end of the day. One of the hardest things about reading this book was accepting the fact that what I was experiencing was actual emotional abuse. The term abuse was so hard for me to accept because when you hear abuse, you're like, am I being dramatic? Is that over the top? Well, maybe it's not that bad to be called abuse. And we try to water it down because of this idea that we have around the word. But you have to check, how does this make you feel in your body? How does this make your nervous system react? And a lot of the ways that I was reacting to the silent treatment or neglect or abandonment is the same way someone would act if they see their abuser walk into the room. Your heart starts racing. You're unsettled. You don't feel calm. You feel frazzled. And you can't really put your finger on it. Another thing that this book really touched on was how to trust your body. How to trust the feelings and the sensations in your body when you're around this person. Are you walking on eggshells? Are you censoring how you behave around them because you don't feel safe being yourself? Do you have anxiety, or are you constantly emotionally exhausted after interacting with this person? Does having a conversation with them leave you feeling like, ugh, I need a nap? That is not healthy in a loving, safe relationship. The key thing with listening to your body is sometimes your nervous system knows before your mind knows. Before it's in your conscious mind, sometimes your body will let you know. Alarms will start going off. I say it's the Holy Spirit, okay? Holy Spirit will let you know something is not quite right here. You can't put your finger on it, but trust that. And the thing about being in an emotionally abusive relationship where there's not safety in the relationship, you begin to ignore the gut feeling. You begin to ignore your own nervous system, and you try to silence your body because you want to stay in this relationship. So you ignore the getting sick. You ignore the headaches and the dizzy spells. You ignore the grinding your teeth. You ignore the jaw pain. You ignore the body aches because you want to stay in this situation because you're confused. It's like sometimes it's good and then sometimes it's really, really bad. Well, I talked to him about it, but he said that's not how it happened. Maybe I'm confused. Did I forget something? Those things are red flags that you really need to pay attention to and stop ignoring your nervous system. God created us so amazing that our bodies know things before we consciously know things. How awesome is that? It's like our own personal alarm system, like security. It's our own personal security system. Like, girl, run. You know how it is in the movies when you yelling at the screen, run, girl, run. That's your nervous system. And you ignoring it like, girl, we gonna be all right. I'm gonna stick beside them. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Okay, so just to go over a few things that I really liked about this book. I liked how she really was very descriptive and she dug deep into how it feels to be in this type of relationship. Because as I was reading the book, I was like, oh my gosh, that is spot on. Oh, how does she know this? A few things that I can say about the book that may be tough is that if you're still in the middle of it, it can be hard to read. This book will bring up a lot of emotion. You will likely cry. You'll start the grieving process because, like me, I came into the realization that this is not going to work. As I was reading this book, it was like I was beginning to accept the idea that, oh, it's no saving this thing. This is who this person is. And the way it breaks down the cycles and the abuse cycle in the relationship, everything was just like she had came into my house and took notes and then went and wrote a book. That's what it felt like. And once I started to read more and more, I was just like grieving. I was in grief. And this is where the grief began. And even after reading this book and doing the workbook, to be honest, to be completely transparent, I never finished the workbook. It was so hard. I'm divorced and I'm out of the relationship, and I made it halfway through the workbook and I had seen enough. I had discovered enough, and I was like, I'm getting out of Dodge. I don't need to read another thing. I don't need to answer another question. Natalie, I'm going to head out. Thanks, sis. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Let me see if I can find. Like, look. It's nothing back here. I didn't answer it. I didn't even have to go that far. And now, since I'm on the other side, maybe I'll go back. But I didn't even have to finish the workbook before I came to the realization that this thing is not going to work. I also love about the companion workbook that she has like coloring pages, like adult coloring pages after really tough sections that kind of help you decompress after answering some tough questions. Let me see if I can find one here. Here is one of them. It helps you document your light bulb moments. Any moments that you have as you're reading and you're like, it also asks you to kind of rehash situations. What was the last situation that happened where you felt confused? And you sit down and you answer questions about that situation and you actually come to some aha moments. I love that in the book and workbook, she's not blatantly saying, how can I say this? She's not blatantly trying to tell you what to do. She's letting you explain what's going on and you come to the conclusion on your own. She's not saying you got to leave right now, pack everything and go. Because even in the flying free community, there are women there who know they're in a spiritually or emotionally, financially abusive relationship and they're choosing to stay. And she has support for women who are staying, who want to stay better, who want to stay safely. So it's not like Natalie is trying to push Christian women out of their marriages. It's not that she wants everyone to be divorced and single. That's not what this is. This is a resource to help women understand what they're dealing with and to also come out of the victim mentality, and not to victim blame. I'm not victim blaming by any means, but there is a certain level of accountability that you have to take on your own when you're in a relationship like this, because you're not a child, you're an adult, you're making choices to whether you stay or you go. So this book also pushed me to accountability and not to victimhood. And I love that about it, because to me that is a major key. If you're in a confusing marriage and you do not know what you're actually dealing with, if you find yourself questioning yourself often, if you're always rehashing scenarios in your head because you're like, did that really just happen? Get this book. Get this book and the workbook and get some clarity on the situation. Okay? This is just one of the many books that I've read throughout my journey. I thought that I would share this one first because this is where it all started for me. But like I said, this is not a paid advertisement. This is not, Natalie Hoffman doesn't even know me personally. Now I have messaged her, private, but she don't know me. She don't know me, but she was such a huge blessing to me in the flying free community. I think I was paying $29 a month when I was in the community. It helps you on how to pick the perfect lawyer for your case, your situation, it's all types of how-tos. How to manage your finances, how to decide on how to handle things with the kids, parenting plan ideas. The book was just a huge blessing, y'all. The community was just a huge blessing. I pray that all the women that work with the flying free community are blessed beyond measure, because the work that they're doing is changing lives and pulling women out of situations that may literally kill them. So I pray that those women are flourishing and doing great. I haven't been in touch with the flying free community in a very long time, but in that season of my life, I was getting on flying free every single day. Talking to somebody, talking in the forums, getting advice, just venting about a situation. I was also in there encouraging other women. It wasn't just me dumping, but I would go and read women's posts and comment under and encourage them or give them advice. Well, this is what I did and it worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. So it wasn't just me going and dumping or watching the workshops and pulling things from it. It was also me pouring back into other women on the site. So go and check it out. I'm going to link the book and the workbook as well as the flying free community in the description box below. I hope that this book is helpful to any woman who comes across this video. Make sure you have the most amazing day, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.